What comes to me is there's a few different reasons. I think one, we've associated power with something else that's not power,
Mm.
control, force, negativity, corruption, all these different things. So if you associate power with those things, then to be powerful is to be those things.
Put up your mask, let down your guard, and let's talk about the real real. This is the Bring Your Own Mask podcast. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to bring you today's guest. Her name is Onyi Love, and she is a healing artist and priestess and the founder of the company and brand Onyi Love. So, what I love about Onyi is that she utilizes pure bioenergy, sound healing, spiritual life coaching, all these different rituals and ceremonies in her practice. And what she's really, really passionate about is grounding the divine and reminding humanity of their beauty, peace, and joy. What I'm so excited to talk about in our interview today is all of her creative work, right? She has done a lot of different things, and she has recently done something that, in my opinion, is just so mind blowing. She did a short spoken word film from the perspective of Black men. So, welcome to the show, Onyi. I'm so honored for you to be here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here speaking to you.
Amazing. Okay, Onye. So we were kind of chatting about this behind the scenes, but you talked a little bit of how you are able to somehow see past the mask that we wear. Can you talk more about that? Because that was so interesting to me. I'm like, wait, save that for the actual interview.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I don't know that it's something that I realized that I could do until a few years back when I was in kind of a ceremony ritual with a priestess who I have learned a lot from, who I have studied under, and who provides really beautiful reflections to me. But I was in a spiritual gathering with her where they were channeling different energies that were coming through. And one of the energies came through and was looking at me and said, "You see a lot, but you don't say a lot. Why is that?" I was
Mm,
like, I don't even know what you mean." And this was like years ago. Really, I often reflected back on that and kind of watched as I did my either spiritual life coaching sessions or my sound healing sessions, purely sound healing, or my specific kind of customized, tailored Only Love experience where I
mm,
infuse sound, verbal channeling, laying of hands healing, and I'm just really operating as a channel for the energy to flow through and just direct me where it needs to go for that group of people and also each individual with the group. And I
mm.
was able to tap into and kind of see specific energies, whether they came through as colors or parts of the body or numbers or things, to then either give that person or the group a message or to lay hands on that specific person that was tying into something they were experiencing or giving them a message. Like one woman, for example, in a reading that I was doing, I looked at her and I just was pulling some cards and just something about the combination of the cards. I looked at her and said, "You're always smiling, but really your eyes are sad. There's a
Mm.
sadness that you're not sharing with people or letting people see. You always hide behind this smile."
Wow.
And she just kind of got quiet and thought for a second and said, "You're right." And we talked a little bit about that. Or I'll go into other situations where I'll lay my hand on a part of someone's body with their consent. And then they just start weeping because they've just been holding on to trauma or any other type of negative beliefs or negative energy that they haven't let people into. And the fact that someone like me saw it and touched it, it gave that specific trauma a chance to be felt and seen and therefore released and expressed. And I'm not thinking I need to touch this. I'm just walking around and just spirit's like, "Oop, touch there." I'm like, "Yep, got it." Doing it. Spirit's like, "Say this color's coming up. Ask them what this color means." And I think because I listen and I've learned to kind of get out of the way, even if something sounds odd or strange or seems odd or strange, spirit's just like, "Do it." It's either going to be the thing or it's going to open up the doors for the thing to come through. And
Mm.
I think because a lot of people are just, again, they're wearing these masks because they don't want us to see who they are, what they're dealing with.
Hmm.
Spirit, my spirit, all my guides, their guides are really giving me a little key. And as long as I turn it by listening, then it just kind of like lets the mask crumble or peel away or break away, whatever it needs to do.
Okay. Well, speaking of masks, I'm thinking that we should just let down our guard. We're going to put up our mask right now and we're going to talk about the real because I'm so curious about how you became Oni, right? So share with us while we're putting on this
Yeah.
mask that we have. How did you become a practitioner of
Yeah,
Ifa?
Ifa. So Ifa comes from the Yoruba people of West Africa, primarily in southwestern Nigeria, but they also cross into Benin. And also you have the diaspora in light of just travel, in light of the enslavement of Africans and so forth. So that
Mhm.
tradition is the indigenous system, the indigenous divinatory system, philosophical system, and so forth. It's really about connecting with our ancestors, connecting with our own selves, our higher selves, first and foremost, connecting with nature, connecting with just life around us as it is in all of its forms, ritual, ceremony, sacrifice, and really being in balance.
Okay.
Being in balance, being in alignment. So my family is West African, specifically Yoruba on my mother's lineage, and I knew nothing of this tradition, nothing at all.
Mm.
I grew up very Christian. My father's family is Seventh Day Adventist. My mom's family is more Anglican, but she operated more from a non-denominational
Okay.
standpoint. And so I just thought, okay, you were either Christian or you were not. And you were either going to heaven or you were not, which even that became a conflict for me because it just seemed like, why would a loving God damn people to hell just because they haven't received this specific thing or believe this thing, especially if they don't come from a culture that practices that. But, anyways, I was super Christian and I started to move away from Christianity because of some of these things that I found to be hypocritical in how people practice Christianity
Okay.
and also just things that didn't make sense. And then there were a lot of things that were happening in my family that I was blaming God. Like, how come these things are happening and we're such good Christians, but this thing is happening and you're supposed to help us in this way? And I think the combination of that just caused me to take a step back. And me taking that step back actually opened the doors for me to just be more curious because I'm actually very curious spiritually, energetically, physically. I'm just a very curious person. But me detaching from a practice of Christianity that was more closed off allowed me to be open to a lot of things that I was encountering through other people. And
Right.
so in college, I actually took a 2 unit class. The intention that I had was I need to fill my schedule and I need 2 more units. What looks interesting? And I was flipping through like the course book and it was like Afro Latin percussion instruments. And I said, wow, okay, I know nothing about Afro Latin music. Two, I've never played percussion. Great, 2 units, awesome. So I just signed up for the class. The teacher walks in the first day. He's in all white. He writes his name on the board and he writes the name that's given to people in a specific expression of Ifa that comes from like Cuba, Puerto Rico, the Spanish speaking Caribbean. He writes the name of those that are going through an initiation process their first year.
Okay.
And the word was in the Yoruba language because that's one of the African roots of that practice, in the diaspora. And
Mhm.
I was like, I recognize this word. One, why do I recognize it? Two, what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
And then he explained what it meant. And then throughout the class, I started understanding just, again, the African influence, the specific tribes that are influencing the music, the dance, the culture, and the spirituality, which stems from Ifa, at least one of them, one of the main
Mm.
roots, a lot of the Afro Latin cultures. And the fact that it was Yoruba from my mom's lineage, I was like, oh my God, why did I never know about this? Do my parents know? It's so cool. And I start asking my mom, hey, mom, do you know anything about this? And start rattling off different names of deities within the cultures. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know these deities. And she could kind of explain it from a more like mythological standpoint,
Right.
but not necessarily like a practical standpoint. And I was just floored that this was all within, again, my bloodline, my lineage, and I was very curious about the transition from that being a practice that we had to something that we didn't practice. And once you open the doors open. So for me, it was kind of mainly music, dance, singing. And because I
Yeah.
was a singer, my teacher would make me sing the songs. And then I started singing more songs and singing them in different areas. And then after college, I started taking dance classes and then meeting other communities. And now it moved from Afro Cuban, Afro Puerto Rican to Afro Brazilian expressions of this culture and this religion. And at some point, I started going into ceremonies and rituals because I had access to them now and now starting to see like spirit work in those realms. And I was so fascinated.
Mm.
And people and different energies would come to me and tell me things that spoke to me being in this tradition in a deeper way and
Yeah.
even going further back to like traditional roots like Nigeria. And then long story short, full circle, 2019, After having worked with the priest and the priestess that I'm under of Ile Orumina Fetefeo, Awofashegun, and Iyafayomi, I went to Nigeria with them and with
Mm.
sisters within my tradition, and I initiated into the mysteries of specific deities, Oshun and Obatala, in this tradition.
Mm.
And
Wow.
so I consider myself a practitioner of Ifa, and I'm an initiate and priestess of Oshun and Obatala. And that means, at least one way I can describe it, is that I have made a commitment and I've gone through specific rites and passages to either fuse my own energy with these specific energies, one being an expression of the divine feminine. I think that's a very large, overarching oversimplification of her energy. That's Oshun. And Obatala is one expression of the divine masculine in his own
Mm.
right as well. But I have fused my energy with their energies to be a walking manifestation of them. That's one description. And or I have made a declaration in a very specific, visceral, powerful way to allow those energies, which we all have. We all have all the energies, but allow those energies to be such a representation and a presence within me that you can't deny it. Like a
Wow.
representative of their energies in life.
Right.
So with the masculine energy, male energy of Vatala, he's also about peace, about calm, about seeing things from a higher perspective, about
Mhm.
intellectual processing, you know, the mind, the brain. And so that already was an aspect of me. So it just became more grounded as I connected more with that energy.
Mhm.
Divine feminine, waters, flow, creativity, birthing, that fierce feminine energy, sweetness of life, but also take no shit. So that energy just, again, really developing that energy, and anywhere that was like out of balance with my own femininity, like that energy is helping me to ground that and step into really seeing and being who I am, because a big part of Oshun's energy is know thyself.
Right.
Know thyself.
Wow. Yeah.
Be yourself. Be in the sensuality of life. We always associate it with sex only, but it's like the
Mhm.
senses, your smell, your sight, your taste, your touch, the feel. How do you experience life through this vessel of the body?
Mm. I love that you did all of that. Like, first of all, I think I'm still kind of processing everything you just told me. It's so amazing because your story I kind of resonate with because I grew up also Christian and I didn't resonate with being Christian. And
Yeah.
eventually I was able to connect with my ancestors. And now I would say that now that I'm 31, I'm much more connected to my ancestors than I was when I was young. Because when I was young, I was not comfortable in my skin. I didn't even
Mm,
like telling people that I was Chinese.
mm.
So, how did you feel the call to reconnect with your roots?
I think taking that class and recognizing that there was a system
Yeah.
that contained deities. And also, one thing that was, I think, the most surprising to me was one day in class, we were learning about one of the deities, Eshu. And I was like, okay, I know that name. That's weird. I know that name. But in thinking about how I knew that name, I realized that the word or the name Eshu, which was associated with this, you know, this deity that deals with the crossroads, choices, change, multiple dimensions. And I continue to learn so much about this amazing, one of my favorite I mean, I love all of them, but one
Right.
of my favorite deities, trickster energy as well. That energy is that expression there and seen in that way there. And then through the Christian lens, because of colonization,
Mm,
that name was associated with the devil. Whenever I hear my parents or any family members that are Nigerian or friends that are Nigerian pray, and they talk about, and I rebuke the devil, da 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 da. If they're praying in our language, they use the word Eshu. So that created this really interesting disconnect of like, wait, then are, oh my God, are you all singing to the devil? You know, like that starts coming up. But then as I delved into the philosophy, started learning about what this energy was, started getting deeper into the understanding of what colonization really did. You know, it's like they took our traditions, they took our practices, and from either one, their own ignorance, their own misunderstanding, or their own purposeful manipulation
mm,
and their own capitalization, they flipped that shit around
yeah.
and caused us to imagine that we were wrong.
Right. Mm,
And so for me, I was like, that's crazy. And so it made me just want to learn more about it. And it's like the deeper I got into the tradition, the more I learned about these deities, the more I started to see just the misrepresentation. And just even looking at the work that people, especially my community and the tradition that I've seen. I mean, in any tradition, any system, you're going to have people that are shady. Like that just is like human beings have that element in them and they're going to operate from negativity or positivity. But it's like when I see all the good that my priest, my Baba does in for our community and other communities, when I hear the prayers, when I hear the songs, when I hear people do what they do, I think, how could you think this is evil?
Yeah.
That's the thing that like really trips me out. I'm like, your own fear is blinding you to the actual energy of this thing. And you're actually, what you're afraid of is its power, but even what
Mhm.
you're more afraid of is your own power.
Right.
And rather than dealing with your fear or your resistance to your own power, you actually project that onto something else. And whatever the easiest target is for you to project that onto, then you'll do it.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I have to stop you there and ask you this very important question, which is,
Yeah.
you mentioned how people are in a way afraid of their own power, right? I've witnessed it within myself. I've witnessed it with my clients. Like this is something that people don't want to admit, but it's relatively true. Why do you think people are afraid of their own power and want to project it onto something else?
What comes to me is there's a few different reasons. I think one, we've associated power with something else that's not power.
Mm,
Control, force, negativity, corruption, all these different things. So if you associate power with those things, then to be powerful is to be those things.
mm,
That's, I think, one thing. Two, I think when you step into your own power and the recognition that on some level you have chosen something and or you have the ability to respond to something in a way that's different than other people,
yeah.
people fear that. The way I look at it is I have moved away from this idea of having a belief in terms of like, oh, what do you believe? Do you believe there's a God? Do you believe there's this, there's that? And I say, well, you know what? I really don't know, but I choose a perspective and my perspective can shift all the time. And I can
Right.
use the perspectives very strategically. I choose that there are different energies. There's energies that range from the spectrum of positive and negative, and actually they're all neutral. It's just how we manifest those energies within ourselves. I choose a perspective that I, as a spirit, like we are all spirits having a physical experience.
Hmm.
I choose a perspective that before I incarnated into this lifetime on this dimension of earth, I in spirit knew what I needed in order to learn whatever lesson I needed to learn. And
Hmm.
that included the parents that I have, the family that I have, the area that I was born, the specific attributes that I have, because I knew that the combination and the crossroad of all those things would create specific circumstances that would teach me a lesson. I choose a perspective, which again speaks to my power, that I attracted everything that is occurring in my life, no matter how negative it is, no matter how atrocious in my mind it seems. I choose that perspective because I am so powerful that I know that I can handle that and I'm going to get what I need out of it. Sometimes I find myself like when I share this perspective with some people, I already know like what the response or reaction, but well, why would someone then choose something like, and
Yeah.
then they rattle off a list of things that we in our minds consider atrocious. And then I just say, look, again, you can choose to say these things happen to you. And great, does that make you feel powerful? And if it does, wonderful, then go about your business.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't, consider the perspective that you chose this, even though in this physical body, in this dimension of earth, it's horrific.
Yeah.
Imagine that you're so powerful that you're like, I'm so badass and powerful. I'm going to choose to have this horrific experience because I know one, it's going to teach me a lesson. Two, it's going to help me be more compassionate. And three, it might help me help others who have gone through the same situation. And because I have flipped it,
Yeah.
I can actually help them flip it as well.
Yeah. It is very interesting because the more I hear you talk about this, right, the more it makes me reflect on all of the experiences that I personally had that before diving deeper into my spirituality, I was always like, why me? I was like the victim, right? Like I didn't see it from a bigger perspective. And now when something horrible happens, right, I'm just like, okay, well, like, what is this trying to teach me? Like, I'm choosing this. And I love that you say that because we are like, as much as we think that we have no power at all, there is a part of us that is choosing that for us to experience. Right. So I really love that you say that because I'm sure the people that are listening, there's going to be times when things happen, and it's something that we have like chose to experience in order for us to really fulfill our lifetime here. So I'm looking at your face right now and like your mask is starting to harden up. Same with mine. Like
It's not too bad. I chose this mask because it starts to harden, but it doesn't get so much where you're like, I can't remove it.
Right, I was trying to, like, see, like, okay, is it I see at
It's
one
pretty it's
spot
pretty
that's
it's pretty flexible, which I love.
right, I love that. Well, okay, I really wanna talk more about your short spoken word film, Wade in the Water. So
Yeah.
while we're removing our masks, tell us your experience channeling this work of art.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, it's a creation by David Bianchi, who's an amazing actor, amazing artist. He created this genre called spinema, which
Okay.
is spoken word cinema. So he's doing a lot of work in that realm and also in the NFT world in terms of really like pushing forward this momentum of like spoken word cinema. And he's a pioneer in this genre. Let me like pour my water. I'm using my tea kettle because I wanted to make sure that my water stayed warm.
Oh my
And the tea
gosh.
kettle has a like a what are those called when you put the little candle in them and then you put the tea kettle on top of it and it keeps the tea warm. I'm using
Oh,
that.
yeah,
So
I haven't seen that before. You're gonna have
yeah,
to show me
it's
that.
really cool. I wanted to make sure it was warm and hopefully it's not too hot. Actually, it's hot but not crazy.
I love that you're just fully embodying this moment.
Yeah, I was like, it's gonna be like my tea time facial. So, it's totally great. He directed it. The poetry is written by him, by an actor named Javon Wade, and also an actor named Llewellyn Radford. And
Okay.
so a friend reached out to me and had the opportunity and said, hey, they're looking for a person to be in this film. And this was right around when quarantine had already started after the murder of George Floyd.
Yeah.
And so she reached out to me and said, hey, they're looking for this female character to play this role. And I was like, oh, no, COVID and all the things, and we don't know, and maybe I don't know. But I just kind of calmed down and said, okay, you know what? Let me see what this is about. And she kind of
Yeah.
gave me a little bit of a description. And then I spoke to the director, David, and he told me basically that, we're doing this film called Wade in the Water, and it's connected to the song Wade in the Water, which is an old Negro spiritual, and you wade in the water. That is really about either kind of bringing hope to the enslaved Africans, bringing this idea of patience, to wade in the water until like God troubles the water. And also, I think there's a lot of different symbolism and interpretations that can be made with, that song and, a lot of the Negro spirituals. But essentially, he told me basically, everyone obviously was affected by the murder of George Floyd, not just African American people, not just African American men, but all of us were affected.
Yes.
And, his poetry, his work is, he does a lot of political work through his art. And so he wanted to create this film using the poetry said by Black males to really talk about the experience of Black people, Black males, people of color in America and the world and what that is.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, that sounds amazing. Like, what is it that you need me to do?
Yeah.
And as the one female amidst these three males, I was going to be kind of the female energy, bringing
Okay.
in that coolness, that water energy, that priestess energy, also because I deal with, the tradition that I practice and heavily connected to the ancestors, really that voice of the ancestors, just, bringing calm and peace and a sense of soothing to these men. And so I had never sung the song fully and I'd heard it before, but I was like, okay, let me make sure I know the song, fully.
Yeah.
I looked up the song, he sent me some links, and then we had a rehearsal over Zoom, I think, like the next day. And, they kind of gave me some direction based on, how they really wanted the energy to come through. And, at some point they're like, that's perfect. I was like, great. We filmed the next day. So between like getting contacted one day and filming, it
Mhm.
was like a span of 2 or 3 days.
Oh my gosh, that's a
And
long time.
so, the good thing is that I didn't need to memorize any lines. I just needed to memorize a song and I just needed to be myself.
Right.
Right? Because it's like, okay, priestess, got that. Okay, woman in white. I wear white often, if not, yeah, like very often. I wore for a year and more straight, around my initiation. I do provide that soothing feminine energy. And so literally, I just played myself. The interactions between myself and the men, like during filming, like you could feel is like very palpable in terms of like the energy exchange between us. And it's acting, but it's not acting because we are responding to things that are actually happening in the world, bring
Yeah.
our own voices to it and bring our own energy to it. And I mean, I had no idea what the film was going to look like. When you're going through the process of something, you don't know what the end result is, especially if it's not kind of your own project and you don't have the specific vision that the person creating it does. So I was like, okay, I did my scenes and I filmed it. I was like, I gotta go because I had some other engagement. And a few months later, David sent me the film and I was floored. I was like, this is so beautiful. It's like haunting and chilling, powerful, sweet. Like
Yeah.
there's a sense of despair, yet there's a sense of hope. So many different things. And I think for me too, just like hearing the voices of Black men speaking about what they see as far as their own treatment, the treatment of their brothers and the treatment of their sisters and people of color in general, and then just what that means for the collective. It's just really, really powerful. So this 9 minute spoken word film, what you're hearing is spoken word and singing because I'm
Mhm.
singing through, I'm weaving through their spoken word with my voice. And I'm
Right.
also interacting with them, just really being that like nurturing, caregiving, again, soothing presence. And it's just so beautiful. And it's won different awards at different festivals. It's just done really well. And I think it's just really powerful. And for those who know the situation, which at this point, if you live in this world, like, like people who say, I never see it, I didn't know, now, there's enough
Yeah.
evidence of experiences of what people go through in their different bodies, whether because of their color, their gender, their physical ability, and so forth. Like you see the things, and
Absolutely.
it just gives you a different lens through which to experience it. And also, it's just a really beautiful work of art.
Oh,
Really
I can't
beautiful.
wait to see it. Can I find this on Google or
Yeah,
YouTube?
you can find it on YouTube. I will definitely, yeah, make sure you have the link. Again, it's 9 minutes. So it's, for those who, for whatever reason, don't have an attention span to watch a full thing, I feel like that's our world these days. But it's just really captivating and just really chilling. And I would suggest if you can watch it with either like really good speakers, so you just hear all the different little intricacies of just even like the breathing and things, or
Yeah.
like have really cool surround sound speakers where you like feel like you're immersed in the experience.
I love that. Well, now that our masks are off, what would you say if I were to ask you, like, who are you without a mask on?
I'm someone who really likes spreadsheets.
Not the answer I expected.
I I like spreadsheets. I'm a hermit at times. There's an aspect of me, like on the one hand, that like really wants to be seen and like, look at me, look at me. Why aren't they looking at me? And another side of me that's like, don't look at me. Don't look at me. Let me blend in. I just want to go to the party and sit in the corner next to the cheese puffs or whatever the snack is over there.
I'm sure this is not a question you get asked often.
It's not, but like I was mentioning before we started, like masks are like a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what are things that like I don't share with people. I can get real jealous, but then
Okay.
I'm like, but I've shared that before and I did a workshop on it. I was like, I did a workshop on it.
Most people don't like to admit that they can get jealous, but I'm curious what you mean by that. Like in an intimate
Oh,
relationship,
I could look at something like a friend has done or someone else has done, and they're like
right?
doing all the things, and I'm like, how come I'm not doing that? And how come that thing is not happening for me? Nah,
Yeah.
nah, yeah, so I can feel that, and then I beat myself up because I'm feeling jealous. Versus like, well, why don't you take the energy if you want to do what they're doing, do that, and if you don't, then why you like? Or if maybe it's just you're like really admiring them, but for whatever reason it filters through negative beliefs, so it comes through as jealousy. So like again,
Yeah.
flip the energy.
Well, I'm glad
So
we're having this conversation
yeah,
because I talked to so many of my clients that actually reveal that to me during a session. And I'm like, why can't you just own that? Like, who cares? Like, you can say that. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's because, on the surface, Instagrams can be like a facade, right? Like, there's a lot of noise out there. People
yeah,
kind of obviously curate their feed in a certain way so that people see them in a certain way, like at the mask that they put on Instagram.
yeah.
And, being jealous of someone on Instagram, for instance, or even like in real life is a common thing. And I feel like people need to share their experience more than hide it?
Definitely, definitely. I'm a person that can judge like my appearance and my body is not good enough, or like, how come it doesn't look like that? And all these. But it's funny because you know what? I reveal these things in a very public way. I'm like,
Right.
the jealousy thing, I did a workshop and I was like, I get jealous. The beauty thing, I like talked about how I was like hating on my belly the other day. And what if we, instead of hating on our bellies, we directed all this love towards them? So I think for me, I find that, and I'm trying to think of things that like I wouldn't share with people. that I could share. Like sometimes my mind can be like, you're not as intelligent as other people. And then sometimes my mind thinks like you're more intelligent than other people. So I go through these extreme thoughts that are just like really just all the things. And then I beat myself up for like every thought that I have. I feel like people project a mask onto me.
Oh, okay. Do you explain?
I think I have this energy, or I've been told that I have this energy, and I'm sitting into the recognition of this energy of like, ah, and like the bald head, and like all whatever the things, or when I wear like my adornments, people are like, oh my God, oh my God. Even a friend of mine, and I did a funny reel about it too. She was like, yeah, people think you just do yoga and meditate all day. And I was like, first of all, I don't do yoga hardly. Second of all, my meditation is like doing the dishes and like maybe dancing or whatnot, but I'm not like a let me sit and meditate in the
Yeah.
conventional way.
You create spreadsheets.
I like spreadsheets. Spreadsheets. And I can be super like detailed, almost obsessive about things. I like all the behind the scenes stuff. And then I can be like really out there and talk about like extraterrestrials and like aliens and all the different dimensions and things. But it's like these are things that I actually share too. So I'm
Yeah.
like, there's not a whole lot for me that I don't share in a public way to where
Mhm.
I'm always like curious when people have these ideas of me. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You just never asked me. You know, you just assume based on whatever it is you're getting from this, and you just didn't think to go deeper. So you're the one
Right.
that actually projected the mask onto me. Had you
Right.
just asked me a question, I would have probably just told you like straight up what it was.
Well, it's also because again, like people only see what they see on the surface, right? And hardly ever do people actually sit there and kind of like think like, I wonder if there's anything deeper about her, or you know what I mean? Like have these types of thoughts, which actually leads me to my next thing, which is I love that you are so open with your audience. Like, I asked you this question, you're like, well, my audience actually knows a lot of things that I've shared that I feel like I haven't shared and you've shared it. And I really think it's because you have this level of self-love. And this is something that you really teach within your community and your audience. And you actually kind of shared with me a ritual that you do, like a self-love and appreciation ritual. And I love it so much that I would like for you to actually say it yourself. This is the Onyi Love's self-love and
Yeah.
appreciation ritual. That's on
And
your
you know,
website.
I was like, which one is it? Because ritual is such a huge part of my life. At this point, I live my life as ritual.
Why do you feel rituals are important? And then share your ritual.
Because ritual to me is such a beautiful way to connect with different aspects of ourselves that we either wouldn't connect with or connect with aspects of everything around us that we see in a certain light and we see as like other and separate from us. But then
Mhm.
to ritualize something and then use those different elements again, I could create a ritual using like these earrings that I had, or what we just did now was a ritual, and how I had the tea and the
Yeah.
water and all the things like that could be a ritual. To me, it's establishing difference. You
Mm,
know, like I can put on these earrings because I just want to look cute. Great.
right.
That's just kind of like my routine or whatnot. But I can say, okay, I want to give gratitude and thanks to my ears for
Mm.
the fact that I, have the ability to perceive energy through sound. And because I'm so grateful for my ears, I'm going to adorn them. And as I adorn my ears, I'm saying that I'm grateful to my ears, and I ask to hear all the things that I don't typically hear, or to listen in different ways. That's a ritual.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna do that now.
So it's so that's why for me it's like when you're like, oh, share that, I was like, what ritual is that? Because that was appropriate then,
Yeah.
and the moments that I posted them. But like what's coming through now
Yeah.
is actually like, yeah, the mask. Okay, in the morning, wake up, touch your face, touch your head, say thank you to my higher self, thank you to my head. In my tradition we call it the ori. Thank you to my ori for waking up today, for choosing to be in this life another day, another moment. Thank you that I chose this existence. Thank you that I chose this body in all of its expression, in all of its aesthetic, the color of my skin, the shape of my figure, the size of my bones, the size of my feet. Thank you for everything that you do for me, body. May I navigate this experience today, every single moment, with gratitude, knowing that you're taking me where I need to go to learn what I need to learn. Thank you. Now I put on my mask. Thank you, face. Thank you to my eyes. Thank you to my cheeks. Thank you to my nose. Thank you for smelling. Thank you for the fact that I have bigger nostrils so I can smell more. Thank you for the fact that I have a little gap in my teeth so that it makes it sound when I talk. Thank you to the fact that I don't have hair because I can feel my scalp in a different way. Thank you to this detox mud from Purely Me. I appreciate you, Purely Me, this company that provides products that are good quality. And as I place you on my face, I ask for the courage to always give myself the love and attention that I need. I will
Mhm.
always cherish you. I will always treat you with kindness. And as I wait for it to harden or wait for the amount of time that it's given me, I'm going to sit here in patience. Thank you for the ability that I have the opportunity to sit,
Mm.
that I can
We should have done
sit.
that earlier.
There's like all these things, for me, spirituality, the idea of spirituality can be like spirituality and then everything else is not spiritual. But it's like, no,
Right.
if we're spirits having a physical experience and everything is an expression of our spirit, our spirituality, our spirit, it may not be esoteric, it may not be metaphysical, it may not be XYZ, but it's all spiritual.
Mm.
And if how we engage with everything is like, okay, we're in co-creation, coexistence, co-reflection with each other. How are you helping me to be more of who I am? How am I helping you to be more of who you are? How do you reflect to me all the different things within this life? Then you start to look at everything from a different perspective, no
Oh,
matter what it is.
yeah, I love the way you said it because I never thought that putting on my earrings could be a ritual, right? And the way you described it to us was just so beautiful because I feel like sometimes, not sometimes, I would say 99% of the time, we're just rushing like onto the next thing. We're not really present to our bodies, our life at the moment. And so, if people were to want to find like a ritual, would they just go on your website and you'll have different rituals?
That's a good question. So, if people want that, I'm in the works right now. I just came back from a month abroad. And so, right now is like my time of like sitting and reflecting and just like processing everything that I experienced, who I was there, and then bringing that back here and then
Yeah.
kind of grounding back into this place. And also, kind of what's the next step for me as far as my services and the different ways that I need to express them. And I had a newsletter before and I would do different things like give different rituals and all sorts of things. And I kind of stopped that because my spirit was like, okay, let me rest on that. And now,
Mhm.
kind of where I'm at is like, okay, what can I provide people on a consistent basis, like through my own platform? So I am working on like a platform, revitalizing the platform that I had before, but just doing it in a different way that for me is more sustainable and that is more accessible. And that is, I don't know if it's detached from some of these like platforms that are already out there, but just utilizes them in a different way.
Mhm.
So I would say sign up for my newsletter so that you are made aware of when I come out with that platform. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, I post things on Instagram, I post things as blogs on my website, and I give rituals here and there. That's the thing. It's like I just go to my page and like pick
Mhm.
something, and you'll see some kind of word, some type of thing that helps. And I am looking to write some books. Like spirit keeps being on me, like book, book, book. You have enough stuff to just even take what you have and write a book. I'm working on a book that will include reflections and rituals and things. I'm coming up with that because I do realize that even though it comes easy to me, some people may not feel it
Yeah.
comes easy to them. So just, yeah, sign up for my newsletter. And I often have workshops and things. I created a ritual out of collecting crow feathers and I made that a
Mm.
whole thing. And so actually something that may come sooner than the platform itself is a simple guide on how to create a ritual.
Wow.
A
Okay.
9-step simple guide. So that'll probably come out, if not before the end of this year, early next year, January.
Okay, well, I'm gonna definitely leave all your links in the description below. It's just amazing because you are really good at it. For me, like I thought I knew rituals, and then I spoke to you and I'm like, well, I guess I don't really know rituals as much as she does.
Don't discredit yourself. That's the thing. That's the thing. I've done this workshop, A Tale of
Yeah,
900 Crow Feathers, where I talk about my experience collecting crow feathers, and then I go into like an actual teaching of ritual from my perspective.
right.
There's kind of a couple different categories. There's one like established rituals from specific traditions, right, that have been passed down from generation, years, like millennia. That's one thing, and to me, there's a respect and a reverence that needs to happen with those. And
Mhm.
then two, it's the other thing of like just take something specific, look at what it actually like the function of it, and then go take it to a different level. So again,
Mm.
like these, like the ears,
Yeah,
decorating my ears, but then it's like, oh, appreciation for my ears. Okay, I can put
right.
a color. Okay, I can just like put on a color, but I can say, ooh, what color wishes to speak to me today? And then see the
Mm.
first thing that pops in your mind, and then kind of go through the day. Okay, what does blue reflect? Or now that I'm wearing blue, how am I navigating through the day? How do I see how people respond to me? Blue, what are you teaching me today? It's
Yeah.
like take something, anything, and just like even ask it a question. I think part of ritual is like asking the thing, no matter how inanimate it is, like, what are you here to teach me in a different way than I have considered before? Just keep
Mm.
asking that question, which will then open up your own consciousness to see all the different things that you can learn from that engagement.
Yeah, because I really think that people they know to take care of themselves, right? Like there's self-care in the sense that it's very like surface level. So let's say getting your nails done or putting on a mask. But when you go one step deeper, like you said, that's when it opens up to this idea of like, wow, like what can I learn from this experience? It's
Yeah.
just so amazing. And I just feel like, wow, I learned a lot through you
The
today.
nails, like that's cute. Like so I was like, "Ooh, put on these rings." I was like, "What do I want to have on my hands?" Thank you, hands, for the things you do. There's some people who don't have access to their hands or fingers, or their access is limited. So I appreciate the fact that I do.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I will decorate you. I will adorn you as I go to the nail salon. I think once you step into that framework, the whole
Mhm.
experience becomes different. Then you look at the nail technician differently.
Yeah.
You look at the colors you pick differently. You might be like, "Ooh, I usually get pink, but now that I did this ritual, green and like with blue specks is coming through." I don't know, just something, whatever. But I'm like, it's not random. It's like actually not random. It's all like the energy's like flowing through you. And I just say, follow it and just see what happens. And you will be surprised and amazed. It's such a beautiful thing. This life is just
Yeah.
like constantly blossoming and blooming with so much, but we negate it or we don't see it because we're always looking for this thing over there or that thing, or it's supposed to look this way, or it's supposed to be exaggerated when it's like, focus on the simple stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I love this conversation. I feel like I could go on for hours. Onyi, where can people find you? I know that you're pretty active on Instagram and then you said you had a newsletter. How can people join your newsletter?
So you can go to my website, which is www.onyi.love, and that's ONYI.love. Onyi
Mhm.
sounds like only, but it's pronounced Onyi. And so you can go to my website, you can sign up for my mailing list, and then whatever newsletters I send out, you will receive those. You can follow me on Instagram, onyi.love. I am on SoundCloud, Onyi Love. I'm on Clubhouse, Onyi Love. So look for me on all those different platforms. And yeah, but if you start with my website, you'll already see I have some sound healings already on there. I have some reflections on there already. I'm going to be adding more. And like I said, I'm creating a platform. It'll be like a membership platform because I just really
Okay.
want to create a space that's separate from these other platforms, which I
Yeah.
love them, but it's like it's good to have my own space as well so people know they can always come there
Right.
to get me and to get what I'm offering. So
Oh, I love that. Well, Oni, thank you again so much for
thank you
coming on the
for having
show. I
me.
loved putting on my face mask with you. It was such a ritual. And yeah, I hope you come on next time.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.